The Mesmer Menace, Chapter 5. Dust bunnies peeked at us from every crack and crevice as we went down the stone stairs to the dungeons, where the Kenny Wickets' famous laboratory is located. Calypso feels that keeping experiments in the subterranean regions is safer for the guests. Mr. Tesla had almost leaped with joy when he visited the lab. The automated inn was the only facility on the planet that perfectly met his needs. The rooftops scraped the clouds and the dungeons bored into the very core of the mountain. It is necessary for the machine to get a grip of the earth, the great inventor had explained, running his hand along the cold stone, a grip so deep that the whole of this globe can quiver. Mad Mars's delving into the mountain had apparently made this gripping the earth possible. When we reached the deepest level, Wally helped me into a lab coat and goggles. Science can be a perilous pursuit, he explained as he handed the president a lab coat to replace his hobo disguise. Quite a lot of storage here, the president observed, patting the sides of his coat. Mother designed them, Wally said proudly. Father and I both find a plethora of pockets useful in the lab. When Wally had donned his own gear, he pulled a lever and the giant door swung wide. Magnificent, the president murmured as he stepped inside. Golden spheres. Golden spheres hung in the air, spinning soundlessly. Arcs of blue electricity climbed ladder-like between giant posts. Copper fly wheels moved cranks and shafts that led into the stone walls. We were surrounded by amazing mechanical apparatus, but if you looked closely, you could see that the lab was roughly divided, with one half reflecting Oliver's interests and the other half Calypso's. Nestled among the electrical contraptions on Oliver's side lurked the instruments of an ancient alchemist. Glittering curlicues of glass carried colored condensation from bubbling beakers. A small steam engine of ancient Greek design chuffed and rattled on the countertop. In contrast, Calypso's collection of advanced analytical engines, drafting tables, mannequins, and a well-sorted selection of millinery looked completely modern. I met Jeeves's eyes in her full-length modeling mirror. The ex-butlers had peered in a most unnerving fashion from amid the pile of parts under Wally's workbench, which was situated comfortably between the workspaces of his parents. I couldn't help but wish someone had removed Jeeves's malfunctioning mechanism from the jumble of junk, but the president probably wouldn't see his unsettling stare. Not unless he sat down on the floor. What's all this? The president asked, examining the bin full of broken bits of wood, scraps of colored silk, wire umbrella ribs, rubber wheels, and kite tails on top of Wally's workspace. Failed flying machines, Wally admitted. I have been trying to piece together the puzzle of powered, controlled flight. Failed? I have tried 1,000 times, Wally said sadly. I fear it is time to give up. I thought this was a very good idea. The world needed many things, but powered, controlled flight was not one of them. Unfortunately, Theodore Roosevelt did not agree. Give up, he boomed. Never say no, Walter. The boy who is going to make a great man must not make up his mind merely to overcome 1,000 obstacles, but to win in spite of 1,000 repulses and defeats. Do you mind if I write that down? Wally asked, taking his journal from his pocket. Not at all, the president replied. He was apparently accustomed to being inspiring. I kept a close eye on Wally as he wrote. If he was suddenly struck by inspiration, he might forget the Mesmers, the tour, and even the president himself. I frequently had to save Wally from disaster when he was caught up in a scientific conundrum. Once I'd caught his coat tail seconds before he was about to step into an empty elevator shaft. Fortunately, no fantastical idea formed in Wally's mind as he focused on his note. The president leaned over a vat of trapped lightning. He tapped the side, causing miniature bolts to arc inside the glass, searching for a way out. It's your mother's lightning-fast popcorn popper actually powered. Is your mother's lightning-fast popcorn popper actually powered by the lightning your father collects? Yes, sir. Wally tucked his notebook back into his pocket. If the vendors buy machines, they will also order lightning bolts with which to power them. Father has collected an ample supply. And how do you transfer the lightning to the popping machine? Wally pulled on his gauntlets, opened the vat, and grabbed a bolt. Good God, the president said. I felt this must be an exclamation of admiration for Wally's hair. Errant electrons, Wally explained, carefully drawing the miniature bolt out of the vat. Errant means wandering in search of adventure. There are always a few errant electrons in the air, and they are generally attracted to Wally's hand. When lightning plays across the atmospheric electron collectors on the roof and sizzles down the wires to the voltage vats, Prissy claims Wally resembles a mad scientist. It takes one miniature bolt to power the popper. Father's device splits lightning bolts into smaller units such as this. Wally transferred the bolt to a jar. We mustn't waste any. The electrons in the vats are for Mother's lightning-fast popcorn popper demonstration. Father has diverted the power lines in order to transmit the next lightning bolt he collects to Mr. Tesla's lab. The president polished his spectacles and then peered into the gloomy recesses of the lab, where the cable branched at a giant switch. One tree trunk-sized bundle of wires snaked toward the voltage vats. The other led to a huge copper coil and Oliver's transmission device. The whole end doesn't run on electrons harvested from storms then. The whole end doesn't run on electrons harvested from storms then? The president asked. Lightning stored in these vats was once used for the end. Wally said, setting the jar on a shelf. My parents found electrical storms too unpredictable to power the daily workings of multiple automatons. I was glad he did not mention that Jeeves's malfunction came about after a particularly powerful lightning storm had supercharged his wiring. But the wind always blows here, Wally went on, which allows our gyrating generator to produce the regular electron flow we need. The spinning contraption on top of the Model N. Can I get a look at the real McCoy? I shivered. The real McCoy means the real thing, or the genuine article. Mr. Roosevelt was suggesting an excursion to the roof. Certainly, Wally said. We'd best keep our lab coats on, sir. Mother insists on it around any experimental equipment.